Hey guys, this is Hell Hades. This is another Raid Shadow Legends video. Guys, it's dropped. We've got some new bosses coming to Doom Tower. Super exciting. I love it when they do this type of stuff. And the first glance is, damn, they are looking hard. But we're going to get into that in just a second. I did a video yesterday about saving, getting ready now, saving for the new fusion that's going to be coming on the 13th of April. I missed one thing, which is actually a really crucial point. So if you've not seen that video yet, check it out. But if you have seen it, one thing I missed is, if you've got fragments that are close to being summoned, don't summon them yet. If you're close to Yoshi and you're going to get him, don't summon him yet. If you're close to Helmet, if you're close to Drexar, Thea, whoever, hold on to them. Hold on to them and wait to summon them until the new fusion drops. You get a ton of points for summoning these champions when that stuff drops. There's also these fusible champions as well. Like if you can get yourself a Relic Keeper, that's 250 points in the bag when that stuff happens. Same with Broadmoor. So another thing you should do to prep for that new fusion, I thought I'd add it into this video in case you're the same crew who was watching the video yesterday. If you're new to the channel, guys, hit the like. Please hit the subscribe. Let YouTube know you like this channel. Okay, what's going on then? So in 8 days from now, Doom Tower is going to reset, and it's going to reset with 2 new bosses. Super cool. When they first dropped Doom Tower, I said the way they can give longevity to their game is to be able to cycle in new bosses pretty often. And they're doing it. I mean, we're what? Is this the 3rd month of Doom Tower? And we've got 2 new bosses in. It looks like they're going to pull 2 bosses out. From what I'm hearing, and it's speculation, Scarab boss is probably coming out, wherever he is. Which actually is one of the ones a lot of people find the most difficult. I actually find it probably the easiest. I think it's the easiest one to set up. And it looks like, I think Soraf might be the other one coming out, but I'm not 100%, or maybe it's, I don't know. Definitely feels like Scarab. I'm not sure on the other one, actually. So let's get into the first boss. And trust me, wow, we need to read a lot when we're talking about this first boss. There's a ton of skills going on. There's a ton of things to understand. So here we go. The Griffin. Pretty cool looking boss. Let's see him in action quickly. So I guess pretend you can't see another Hell Hades behind me. This is what we saw from the What's Coming Next video from Raid. So into the cheeky Doom Tower we go. Here's the Griffin, flexing. And obviously this is how they kind of do the builds. I mean, look, obviously just a cool visual, cool kind of thing when they launch any of the new bosses. They do a good job on this type of stuff. But can we beat it? That's the question. I'm going to read through his skills. There's a lot. There's a lot. I need reading glasses. Here we go. A1. Attacks one enemy. 100% chance to put a fear on you. Okay, we can live with a fear. We can cleanse a fear. But fear on its own is nasty, but not disgusting. Like, fear, you're not going to lose your cooldown of your ability if you try and put it on. True fear is a different kettle of fish, but just fear I can live with. And it's only attacking one enemy, so we've got one fear going out there. A2 transfers all debuffs from Grythion to each enemy, then attacks all enemies. Fills his turn meter by 5% for each debuff transferred. So it's an AoE hit. If you've put a load of debuffs on him, it's a 3-turn cooldown here, so it's a bit like one of the Faction War bosses, actually. If you load him up with debuffs at the wrong time, he transfers them to you and you're in trouble. But what's even worse with this guy is that he is going to also gain turn meter for every debuff he transfers. So if he's got 3 on him and he transfers it to 5 of your team, yeah, that's what, 15 lots of 5%. He's getting like a 75% turn meter fill. So all you need to do, though, it doesn't mean you can't bring debuffs to this fight. It just means that you need to be in control. So you need to put your debuffs out, hold them back when he's getting close to this cooldown so that they run off. A3 then removes all buffs from all enemies. This is a big part of his kit, actually. Removes all buffs from all enemies, then attacks all enemies. So it's hard if you debuff him, and it's hard if you buff yourself. the buff removal cannot be resisted. So everything else so far can be resisted. The fears can, the transfer debuffs could be resisted, which means that he wouldn't get the turn meter fill. But the buff removal cannot be resisted. His damage increases by 10% for each buff he removes 3-turn cooldown. Now again, it doesn't mean you can't bring buffs, because you can control when the buffs are going to drop off and not give him that damage boost. But if you're trying to auto this, you're probably bringing a team that doesn't debuff a lot and doesn't buff a lot, which makes it a long old fight. So pretty nasty. Damage increases by 10% for each buff removed. If he removes 2 buffs from the whole of your team, that's a 100% damage increase. You're all going to sit down. It's nasty. So then we get into his passives, and there is a ton of passives. It's like a whole page. Attacks an enemy whenever their HP drops below 50%. The attack places heal reduction for 2 turns. So it's just like an auto. It's a bit like the rotor's cutting. It looks like whenever their health drops below 50, bam, he's cutting in, he's slamming you, and he's giving you a heal reduction debuff. Nasty. A5, or passive again, second passive, adds 1 Skybond buff to Grythion at the start of each turn. Also adds 1 Skybond buff to Grythion whenever an enemy's HP drops below 50%. So every time he gets a turn, he gets one of these buffs. Every time someone loses over half their health, he gets one of these buffs. Each of these buffs increases his attack by 5%, his crit rate by 3%, crit damage by 5%, and speed by 2.5. That's pretty disgusting, guys. Honestly. So basically, the longer the fight goes on, the stronger he gets. And significantly stronger as well. Will ignore shield buffs, block damage, unkillable when Grythion has got 10 or more of these Skybond buffs. Can stack up to 20 Skybond buffs. So 20 buffs will give him 100% more attack, 60% more crit rate, 100% more crit damage, and 50 more speed. Yikes. They cannot be removed or blocked or whatever. So cleansing those off it's not going to work. It's not going to cut it. I guess block buffs is not going to cut it either. I guess it doesn't say whether block buffs can land. Maybe that'll come a bit later. We'll see. And then we've got another passive. Whenever Grythion's turn meter is decreased, the turn meter of all enemies will be decreased by the same amount. So if you're slamming with a Cold Heart, Heart Seeker, 100% drop the turn meter. All of your team's turn meter are going to drop by 100% as well. Places a stun debuff for 1 turn on enemies who have got fully depleted turn meters. This isn't a place for Cold Heart. It's probably not a place for Armageddon either. Whenever an enemy's turn meter is filled, Grythion's turn meter will be filled the same amount. So if you've got someone increasing your speed, your turn meter, he gets that same turn meter boost. Wow. Turn meter increases are tracked and counted individually for each enemy. So I guess if you bring Lysandra, who fills all of your team's turn meter, I'm guessing what that says is he gets 5 lots of turn meter fill. Wow. And then we got immune to stun, freeze, sleep, provoke, block cooldown skills, fear, true fear. Immune to HP exchange, all the normal stuff there. Decreases the damage taken from poison by 90%. Wow. Damage that's from skills that scales from max HP cannot exceed 10% of his health. All turn meter reduction effects are decreased by 50% when used against this boss. Flipping heck. This is a nasty boss. Really nasty. It feels to me like you pretty much need to do a bit of a slow and steady whilst keeping your heals topped up. And by that I mean, don't bring a load of buffs, don't bring a load of debuffs. Bring someone in that can cleanse regularly, someone like a Doom Priest that's topping up your health, that is removing any kind of little tweaky debuffs. Don't bring all this kind of normal... It's basically, don't bring the normal crew, I think. I think it's going to be a lot of hard-hitting A1 type champions and keep your health above that 50%. But there is the time bomb. There's a ticking time bomb here of that Skybond growth. It doesn't say that he's immune to block buffs, but I'd imagine that's not going to work. Maybe it does. Maybe you get block buffs out first and then you're laughing, but I kind of guess it's probably not going to work. I just say here, actually, Skybomb buffs cannot be blocked or removed. Yeah, okay, so block buff's not going to work. But yeah, it's going to be a nasty boss, guys. I guess give us your thoughts below. Any kind of strats that you're thinking out as I've gone through the different abilities here. But yeah, it does feel like it's going to take some work. It's going to be definitely a nasty fella to face. But if you can just out-heal him, keep shields. Oh no, shields he's going to steal. Looks like a nasty one. Looks like a nasty one. Let's move on to the second new boss. Okay, guys. So here is the second kind of encounter. It's going to be these 2 guards and another dragon. And yeah, again, let's just kind of check out what was going on this one. So look, looks pretty cool. I think it might be a reskin of the Magma Dragon, but maybe not. Looks pretty cool. I can't see any guard action going on here, so maybe it's in the pre-fight or something. I'm not sure, but certainly I can't see the guards in the fray there. Maybe they're going to be in the waves leading up to the dragon. Interesting, actually. But we've got here, so we've got the Eternal Guard, which is the fella on the right-hand side, who, if I just pull up his kind of individual art, just so you can see it, looks pretty cool, actually. I think they've done a good job of this. Look at that shield. Again, nice. Like, no doubt they realised they had too many undeads coming through, so they actually put them as bosses instead. But there you go. Eternal Guard, first one up. Attacks all enemies with an A1. Places decreased defense debuff for 2 turns. Also places a provoke debuff for enemies. For 1 turn on enemies under block cooldown skills debuff. All right, we already know block cooldown skills is coming somewhere else, and that's a nasty old debuff to get. So decreased defense, 60% decreased defense. It's a nasty one to have on you. He's got a passive as well. Decreases the damage taken by allies from AoEs by 75%. Don't bring your AoEs. So that's this guy on the right-hand side here. Let's have a look at the priest. The priest's abilities are, so priest, this guy, I guess they are going to be a 3, otherwise their abilities wouldn't make sense. A1, attacks 1 enemy, places block cooldown skills for 2 turns. So it's a single hit. He's going to be putting the block cooldown skills on, and obviously this guy is then trying to provoke that block cooldown skill. A passive, A2, resets the cooldowns of all enemy skills when this champion is killed by an enemy. Reset the cooldown of all skills. So when you take this guy out, you're going to have all of your skills put on max cooldown. I think. Resets the cooldown of all enemy skills when this champion is killed. It's that, or it actually reads like you get your skills back, like a Kaimar reset. I'm interested to know what actually happens in the code there, because that reads like we're getting our skills back. So I'm not 100% sure, but if that is the case, then maybe you go all out, nuke this fella, get your skills back, and then you go again. But yeah, interesting. I'm not 100%. I will ask and get clarification. If I find out for sure, I'll put it in a pinned comment below. So the final one then, the boss, the dragon. And again, we've got a page and a half of writing here, so let's go through it. Another dragon. We know that dragons are tough. Let's do it. A1, AoE. Attacks all enemies. Places block cooldown skills debuff for 1 turn. Wow. Block cooldown skills on an A1 is nasty. And don't forget, this guy, when block cooldown skills is out there, this guy can put provoke on that champion for a 1 turn as well. So there's a lot going on here. A2, attacks all enemies. Inflicts bonus damage for every turn remaining on all enemy skills. Let me read that again. Attacks all enemies. Inflicts bonus damage for every turn remaining on all enemy skills, cooldowns, plus 20% damage for each skill, for each turn of cooldown. Flipping heck. So basically, if you've got people with long cooldown abilities, he's getting a ton of damage. Yeah? Places a fear debuff on enemies with no skills on cooldown. It's nasty as well. I guess bringing champions that have got only 1 or 2 skills that can go on cooldown may be a beneficial there, but certainly not bringing people that have got like those 5-6 turn cooldowns would be nasty. A3 attacks all enemies, puts all enemy skills on cooldown, fills his turn meter by 5% for every turn remaining on all enemy skill cooldowns. This is like the absolute mammoth fight of anyone who's got long cooldowns or big skill abilities on their A2, A3, whatever. You're pretty much losing them for the whole fight. You're losing those abilities, and those abilities are harming you. So it feels like you need champions with maybe only 1 skill that goes on cooldown and really decent A1s. We've got an A4. Now we get into the passives. Summons 3 minions at the start of the turn. 1 Eternal Priest. Then 2 Eternal Guards. Okay, I see now. 2 Eternal Guards. He can have a maximum of 3 minions at any time. So summons them at the start of the turn. So I guess before the fight begins, that means. Places Eternal Rage on himself for 2 turns. For 2 turns, if only 1 minion is summoned or no minions are summoned by this skill. Oh no, he must just keep doing it. Every time he gets a turn, he summons again. And he places Rage on himself for 2 turns if only 1 minion summoned or no minions are summoned. And you cannot remove that buff. Eternal Rage buff increases speed and causes Iragoth to ignore unkillable, block damage, and shield buffs. And ignore 50% of the target's defense. 5-turn cooldown on this. 5-turn cooldown. Okay. So the start of a turn, but it's a 5-turn cooldown. So right at the start of the fight, he does this. And then after 5 turns, he's going to do this again. So straight out, he's obviously going to summon 3 minions. So you're not going to get that buff. But in 5 turns from then, if you've not killed 2 of these minions, then you're in a lot of trouble. You're in a ton of trouble. Ignoring 50% defense is nasty, as well as getting all these extra buffs. Another passive here. At the start of a turn, another 5-turn cooldown one. At the start of the turn, sacrifice a priest, resets the cooldown of Iragoth's skills, and gains an extra turn. So remember how I read that priest skill? The priest dying resets the cooldown of enemies. Yeah, so I think it is a Kaimar reset. And at the same time, he's doing this on purpose so that he can get an extra turn and then blow you up with all of these abilities that mess you on skill cooldowns. This is another really tough fight. A really tough boss. A lot of thinking needs to be going into this, the team comps for this. Resets the cooldown of his skills, gets an extra turn. If there are no priests on the team, sacrifices Eternal Guard instead and heals Iragoth by 15% of his max HP. This skill will go on a 4-turn cooldown at the start of the battle and will activate and go on cooldown every 5 turns. Every 5 turns, even if there are no guards or priests. Yowza. So he doesn't get this straight away. So he gets his minions straight away, and then 4 turns from then, he's going to use his Consume Soul ability. It's a nasty one. He's immune to all of the normal stuff. Freeze, sleep, provoke, block cooldown skills, fear, true fear. He's immune to decreased speed, poison, and heal reduction. Also immune to turn meter effects like all the dragons are. Damn, this is nasty. Max HP skills cannot do more than 10%. Again, guys, comment below. What's your thoughts here? It feels like we need people with low skill cooldowns, maybe only 1 skill that can go on cooldown. But we also need to be blowing up the ads. Wow, this is going to be 2 really, really tough new bosses. So guys, look, put your comments below. I know a lot of people are negative about the Doom Tower. It is end game content. It's meant to be that. But I do feel like on normal so far, most people, I've done videos where I'm kind of doing it with level 40, level 50 champions. Most people should be able to compete on normal. These 2, though, are going to take some thinking. I like that they need some thinking. I like that it's not just a walkover boss. But yeah, comment below. initial thoughts of how to tackle these fights. Wow. It sounds like it's going to be tough. One question that we've asked in content creator chat is, what does this mean in terms of sets? Will we get new sets for these new bosses? We've been told something might come out later today, so I can't share that with you yet. I've stressed it time and time again. Give us sets for these fights that make a difference somewhere else. Don't just give us sets as they are right now that really are irrelevant in the game. You know, Doom Tower sets right now, Affinity Breaker, basically trash. It doesn't give you a high enough chance to land a weak into a crit. Therefore, it's not worth placing on. I can't see a situation right now where this is relevant. Untouchable, it's basically the immunity gear with resistance. Well, if you're using immunity gear, you probably don't need resistance anyway. Fatal is okay. Frostbite is okay. They're not strong enough. They don't make a difference to help us get through Doom Tower next time around. So I'm hoping that these bosses do. I'd love it for these bosses to help us be able to beat one of the other bosses properly. So there you go, guys. Look, bit of a long video. Hope you enjoyed the video. Hope you're excited for the new stuff in Doom Tower. I always like it when they're bringing out new content. But yeah, this is tough. Tough. Anyway, guys, I've been Hell Hades. I will catch you soon.